you go to like editing history. Yeah, exactly. All right, everybody, we're going to get started. Bonjour tout le monde, bienvenue. Welcome online and in person to Concordia University's fourth space. Thank you so much for joining us for Research That Matters, Sustainability, Biodiversity, and Justice in a Time of Ecological Crisis. We are starting with event one, day one of a full week of activities today with spotlight on marginalized voices for sustainability. This is a Wikipedia Edit-a-thon that you're joining now in person or online. To help situate you, we are streaming to YouTube Live from Fourth Space, which is located on unceded Indigenous lands here in Tiohtià:ke, Montreal. And we'd like to extend our gratitude to the Kanien'kehá:ka Nation, who are the caretakers for the lands and waters we are meeting on, for their teachings about the earth and our relations. If you're new to Fourth Space, welcome one and all, online or in person. What do we do here? Well, we work with our university community to mobilize and exchange knowledge by co-creating daily activities. So it's our pleasure to welcome in Sarah Turner and her graduate students from the Department of Geography, Planning and Environment as we work together for this edit-a-thon. I'll pass it over to you now, Sarah. Welcome.
Thanks, Anna. We're excited to be here. I guess I will start by sharing my screen. I have a few bits of business slides, and then a short presentation, and then we'll get editing. So hang on one sec. Why is it not letting desktop one? There we go. Let's try this. Okay. So as Anna said, we are kicking off the Research That Matters, Sustainability, Biodiversity, and Justice in a Time of Crisis conference. As the co-director of the Loyola Sustainability Research Center, I want to welcome you to the conference this week. There is a really exciting lineup of events and presentations and speakers and panels. And for those of you who aren't already registered, please do register and come to all of the events that are starting today and end on Friday afternoon. So you can go online to register, and then it's free. And one of the first events that's happening is this afternoon, and it's a Climate Change Across Disciplines panel discussion moderated by Damon Matthews from Concordia, with Alain Cuillère from UDM and the Montreal Botanical Gardens, he's an ethnobotanist and plant ecologist, and Sonia and Dima from the Masters of Fine Arts program in Concordia alumni, Milton Rialto from McGill's Climate Change Artist in Residence at the Red Path Museum. And I believe there's a couple of other speakers coming as well. So it's going to be a really great kickoff this afternoon. I also want to invite you to come down into the depths of the EV building, where Leela Sudra will be hosting a stereoscopic 3D projection of one of her really amazing forest videos productions that she has. So that's directly after this, and anybody who wants to come who's here, I'll kind of walk you down. It's a bit of a maze, and if you haven't already seen the black box, it's a 2-story kind of black room where you can get these 3D film projections, and it's really cool. Forest in the basement of Concordia. Tomorrow, I am really excited that we have this workshop with my colleague and friend, Dr. Renata Ferreira from Brazil. She is here in person from Brazil and is going to be giving this workshop on capuchin monkeys and reintroduction. It's tomorrow from 10 to noon, and she'll be presenting, and there'll also be discussion and kind of problem solving, and it'll be really an exciting workshop. And she's also actually giving a couple of workshops on statistics and quantitative analysis for behavioral ecology research and other biological research. So if you're interested, you can also hook into those presentations that are in the coming weeks. We also have an exciting panel that is quite personal to me, the West Coast Rainforest Activist Movements, that I'm going to be moderating a panel with friends and family and colleagues, Kathy Code from the Ecoforestry Society, Jesse Demers, who's an independent curator and artist and activist in the Walbrand Valley on the West Coast. Rainbow Eyes from the Rainforest Flying Squad, Indigenous activist. Bill Jones, elder of the Pacheedaht First Nation, Nancy Turner, my mom, who will be talking about ecoforestry, and Rita Wong from Emily Carr. So this is going to be quite an exciting panel talking about the last number of decades of rainforest activism on the West Coast and how that's changed and what's going on now. We have a keynote address by Rasim Khalifa, and this is going to be a really interesting talk towards more internationally equitable science, talking about these really important issues in relation to how we practice science and sustainability science in particular. So this will be on Wednesday from 4 to 5 here in the fourth space. And there's a sustainability and biodiversity and justice has a sustainable event certification. And I invite you to look through the website, and please, if you're online, turn off your camera unless while the speakers or the presentations are going on, and then you can turn it on to speak and to ask questions during the more interactive parts. So, just a moment. Save. There we go. So I know Anna just did a little territorial acknowledgement. I would also like to acknowledge that here in fourth space, we're coming to you from Concordia University, and we are located on unceded and stolen Indigenous lands. The Ganyankahaga Nation is recognized as the custodians of the lands and the waters on which we're gathered today. And Tiohtià:ke, Montreal, has historically been a gathering place for many First Nations. We are privileged to be on that land, but I also acknowledge that this land is stolen land. And a territorial acknowledgement doesn't really begin to address that issue. And here we are. So our workshop today is a spotlight on marginalized voices in sustainability. And we're going to be doing a Wikipedia Edit-a-thon. So we're here with graduate students from the environmental science seminar in the Department of Geography, Planning and Environment. We're actually an interdisciplinary seminar with students who are also from art history and journalism. And we're joined today by students from, what's your class, Amy? Environmental policy in the developing world as well. So that's welcome to all of you who are from that class too. And I would like to thank Amber Burson. She gave a presentation at our first Edit-a-thon in this course. This is only the second one we've done, and we're doing it in a slightly different format this time, but I'm using some of Amber's slides and information from her slide deck with her permission. So you can find her Wikipedia user ID here on the slide if you want to look her up on Wikipedia. She's also, if you just Google her, she's done all sorts of amazing work on raising marginalized voices in Wikipedia and looking at issues of accessibility on Wikipedia and participation. So today, we're going to talk about, really briefly, what is an edit-a-thon? And I will talk a little about Wikipedia broadly. I know many of you have this background, but for those who don't, we'll just kind of go through some of Wikipedia's ground rules and look at a few biographies that are published on Wikipedia already to use as models. And then we will create our own. So in short, an edit-a-thon is just working together to edit and produce new content and to edit existing content on Wikipedia. And today I'm hoping that we'll be able to research and create 3 to 5 short biographies. It's a bit of an experiment, and we'll just see how it goes. But we're building on some class suggestions for people do not currently have biographies in Wikipedia, but are notable in sustainability science and environmental science as environmental sustainability activists. And we have a Google Doc that I will share the link for after, and so that we can use it as a kind of jump-off platform for research. And then after, we'll spend some time, we'll kind of break into groups and spend some time doing some research on the 5 folks who are listed on that Google document. And then we'll assess, we'll take a break, pause, come together, assess if we have enough information to do an article. If we don't for someone, we can red link them. We'll talk about that in a minute, but that's where you show other Wikipedia editors that this person is deserving of an article, but it doesn't already have one. But maybe we don't have enough information on them yet. So for those people who we do have enough information that we're able to find in our short window of time, we'll create some short biographies. So Wikipedia is an encyclopedia. As you probably know, everybody's used Wikipedia, I think. We all end up finding Wikipedia articles in our searches. And the Wikipedia is a platform that anybody can contribute to. So it's this encyclopedia, but it's not like Encyclopedia Britannica or various encyclopedias where authors get invited to write an article. This is something where anybody can go in, do some research, and follow the general guidelines and contribute to building Wikipedia articles. One of the things to know about Wikipedia is that they really require a neutral point of view. So as we've discussed in our class, that true neutrality maybe doesn't exist in a real way, but we need to do our best in the context of Wikipedia to write in a neutral voice. So to keep our own perspectives and analyses out of the article as much as possible, and only source ideas and content that are coming from another reliable source. Wikipedia is free content that anyone can use and edit and distribute, so it's non-proprietorial. So when we write in Wikipedia, it's your work in the sense that you're an editor, and once you make your username in Wikipedia, your edits are traceable to your username, but it's not your content anymore. Although for those of you who are students, and if you work on this article today, you can save a link to the article and you can include that as work that you've done on your CV. It's not a peer-reviewed publication, but it is work online, and it is writing and work, and you can cite that as part of your knowledge and training. Wikipedia's editors should treat each other with respect and civility, which probably sounds pretty straightforward. Sometimes we do get into conflicts with others on Wikipedia, though, because it is open and because anybody can edit and also take things down. So we try to keep all the time the idea in mind that everybody is doing their best, and try to stay positive and keep the communication open, and usually conflicts can be worked out through communication on the talk pages. And Wikipedia doesn't have firm rules. There are some guidelines, and some of them are pretty strict. No plagiarism, that's going to be enforced by Wikipedia, but there tend to be policies and guidelines that are evolving over time, and that can change over time rather than firm rules. So it's always a good idea to check as you move forward and do things. We can't write content on Wikipedia in our own interests or the interests of our external relationships. So, if you think you might have a conflict of interest with one of, maybe, if you know one of the people that we're thinking of writing a biography on today, then choose one of the other groups to work in. Although you could make suggestions for where we could find sources on that person if you know some. So there's still contributions you could make without writing in conflict of interest. But Wikipedia isn't a platform for people to put up their personal biographies. This is a place where notable people, that is, people who've been recognized by multiple other sources in society as notable, get biographies written. So that's the notability. Wikipedia articles cover notable topics, those that have gained sufficiently significant attention by the world at large and over a period of time and are not outside the scope of Wikipedia. So we consider evidence from reliable and independent sources to gauge this attention. The notability guideline does not determine the content of the article, but only whether the topic should have its own article. So sometimes we can put in content that might not be notable content. So somebody's, information that's published about someone's personal life or childhood, if they're a public figure, but we only put an article about that individual if they meet the notability criteria. And Wikipedia doesn't publish original thought or research. So this is not a place to, publish your own graduate school research. This is a place where we can write about existing reliable published sources. And so we don't do any new analyses or data crunching for Wikipedia. We are just finding and compiling and synthesizing sources that exist. And some good examples of verifiable sources. As you all know, academic and peer-reviewed publications are really great sources in Wikipedia, university-level textbooks, books published by respected publishing companies, national magazines, journals, mainstream newspapers, and there are more. There are lists of what are considered reliable sources on Wikipedia available. So I've got links to some of those in the Google Doc that we'll be working from. And sometimes these notability guidelines reproduce structural oppressions like sexism and racism. So for example, Wikipedia hosts more than 1.9 million biographies, and less than 20% of those biographies are about women. And as I mentioned, we might not be able to find enough information on someone in order to put up a biography. And in that case, you can red link them as somebody who, maybe somebody else knows of another source, another reliable source that we haven't found, and they would be able to put up an article. But because of the notability guidelines, not everybody, the same structural oppressions that weave their way through our society also mean that the work of women, the work of Indigenous people, the work of trans activists, the work of people from the global South compared to the global North may not be as celebrated, as available, as published, as written about in the media as others. So it's also we have to do a bit of work to find those reliable sources, and then this also then helps raise those voices and their visibility. So also, less than 10% of Wikipedia's editors identify as cis or trans women. The most, and the editors that do identify as women are more likely than men to have their edits reverted in Wikipedia. So, we're also working against these biases in Wikipedia by being here and by editing as a diverse group of people contributing to this platform. Similarly, the global North is way overrepresented relative to the global South in terms of who edits in Wikipedia. So, being aware of these structural issues and then working to change this system. So there's some links to information on racial and gender bias in Wikipedia, but overall, edit, and then you're actively doing something that feels really like a good contribution. When you press publish on something and you see it go up on a Wikipedia page, it's a very satisfying kind of small activist step towards changing things. I've mentioned red links. There are a few projects that exist to put red links up for people who don't have biographies or for topics that aren't covered in Wikipedia. You can find information on red links and lists of red linked people and topics that then you can write about as well. So a couple of examples, the Wiki project Women in Red and Les 100 Pages are two projects that seek to have biographies of women put on Wikipedia. And Amber Burson, who I mentioned earlier, and a couple of others were responsible for this really interesting Art and Feminism, Unreliable Guidelines, Reliable Sources in Marginalized Communities in French, English, and Spanish Wikipedias. This is a really interesting report. It's freely available, and I highly recommend you have a look. So I wanted to talk a little bit about just the nuts and bolts of biography writing in Wikipedia. So most Wikipedia biographies will have a short introductory section. So that's like the lead section in Wikipedia. A Wikipedia introduction or lead section is not quite the same as another introduction. It's more like an abstract where you pull kind of just the most important information, but the whole article should be reflected in that lead section. And then there's usually a section headed biography or life with subsections like early life, career, awards, sometimes publications, depending on it. And then there'll be a reference section at the end with our verifiable, excellent sources. And you can also add an external links section that includes websites outside of Wikipedia. So this would be where a person's you could link to a person's website or to an organization's website at the end of an article. So I wanted to just show you a couple of examples. This is Kristen Zickfeld, who is a climate scientist. Hang on, yeah. So you can see this is a fairly short biography. Kristen works at Simon Fraser University and is an extremely well-respected and well-published climate scientist in Canada. So you can see there's this heading that has a little description of her career, who she is, and then there's a section on her research career. And so this talks in chronological order about her education and her training. And then you note that there's each kind of fact is sourced. So here's the source here, we can see again, and then each one of these, the IPCC authors, like there's different National Observer news media, there's different websites that are verified. And then there's a selected bibliography of some of her publications. There's talk about the SR15 report, the IPCC, and then there's some notes and references. And so that's one example of a, hang on, to show you a couple more. So one of the students in our class had suggested that we work on Sheila Watt-Kluche's biography, and for our purposes today, I think her biography is already too far along for us to easily contribute to, but it's a really good example of one to look at of somebody who is notable and who has a good biography in Wikipedia. So you can see she's got there's a lead section again, it's cited, and then there's a section on her early life, early career, her political career, her publications, and then there's, in this case, an awards and honors section, again, listed chronologically. A very short personal life section, see also, and some references, and some external links. So that's a nice example of a biography in Wikipedia. And I have one more. So this was also a person flagged by a student in the class, and I wanted to show this example because this is a really short biography, and what we do today might end up looking more like this, and that's okay. If we end up putting up someone's name who's not currently biographied on Wikipedia and create even a short biography like this, that's putting a spotlight on them, and it also then opens this article that other people will be able to work on and edit over time. So, here we can, Seraine Fox is a Canadian Anishinaabe activist, broadcaster, and filmmaker. She is most noted for her 2020 documentary film, Inendi, for which she received the Canadian Screen Award nomination. So this is like just a short summary, really. It doesn't have a lot of information, but it's all sourced information. And then there's a list of citations and references and an external link. So, I also wanted to say that it's always nice if we're able to add images to Wikipedia. We may or may not be, depending on what's available. You should not just add images that you find on the web unless they comply with the copyright rules. So they have to be open source and available. But if you have photographs yourself that are relevant, you can add them to the Wikimedia Commons, which is a sister project of Wikipedia. And generally you should not add photographs or paintings of people unless the author has been dead for over 70 years. If you are in doubt, you should ask for advice, unless that is a freely available uploaded photograph. But so, for example, you can search the Wikimedia Commons for, this is a source where if there is a photograph of somebody there, it means that it's been vetted and it's available for use. So you can go into the Wikimedia Commons, search for images that are available, and then you can move those into your sandbox for working, and then eventually into the article on Wikipedia. There's the result of the search, and you can see when we put in Frida Kahlo, there's quite a number of images that come up in the Wikimedia Commons that may or may not be true for some of the people we're working with today, but just to call your attention to it. I know that there's a few people today who maybe haven't edited at all in Wikipedia, and I was talking to a couple of you earlier. You are totally welcome and to participate here, and we'll pair you up with some of the students who can help get you a username on the platform and started. But once you have your username in Wikipedia, you can go in and give Wikipedia some basic information about yourself if you haven't done it already. So you go into your preferences up here in this corner, and then there's sort of a list under user profile, and you can go and choose your gender preferences there so that Wikipedia will refer to you as she, her, he, him, they, them, as you like, which also then gives Wikipedia information about who's editing. And you can also change your editing preferences to show, so that you're using the visual editor in Wikipedia, which I would highly recommend. So there's a wiki kind of script that's a bit like HTML that most of us, when we're editing in Wikipedia, don't use, and there's a visual editor that's much more user-friendly. And the only reason I really bring this up is so that if you find that you're working in Wikipedia and it looks like code, you just need to toggle. There's a little button, and you just need to toggle into the visual editor script instead of working in the wiki editing code. So what we're going to do today is create probably 3 initial sandboxes. A sandbox, for those of you who haven't edited in Wikipedia, is the play space for working in Wikipedia. It's where you can experiment, where you can write drafts, and you can share a sandbox. They're all findable, although we don't generally edit in other people's sandboxes unless we have an invitation, which you would as working in a group. So you can create a sandbox, and you can find a sandbox through our Wiki Edu platform by adding the same name. And so the first person who adds that name will create the sandbox, and then everybody else can link to that sandbox in the group. A couple of cautions. Wikipedia doesn't handle simultaneous editing within a sandbox very well. So it's a good idea within your group to coordinate, to choose one person to add content to the sandbox or to work in separate sandboxes and then merge them. You can also work in a Google Doc initially and then copy and paste into the sandbox and have one person who's responsible for doing that. Do keep copies of your text elsewhere, because sometimes if we forget to publish or save in the sandbox, we can lose content. So keep a copy of what you're working on. And you can create as many sandboxes as you need in Wikipedia. You can create another page off your Wikipedia user page. So once you have an ID in Wikipedia, you'll have a user page, and you can create new sandboxes off of that user page. And then you can use a sandbox to outline your article, to write your lead section and perfect it, to draft each section of the article, to add references. It's the same. It's essentially like a blank Wikipedia article that you work in. So you can do all the formatting, and then you can publish that article in Wikipedia once it's all ready to go. And because we're working in groups, you can also get feedback from your colleagues and kind of exchange editing in the sandbox too. So let's get editing. Today, what we'll start with is forming groups to research each potential subject. We'll find some sources and create lists of facts about the subject. And I think what we'll do is probably take an initial about half an hour after we form groups to do that, to do some research. And then we'll report back and see where we're at about how much information we have about each potential candidate for our biographies. And then we'll create sandboxes. I should probably have in there, each group can create, I'll put the Google Doc in a link in the chat, and then we can create additional Google Doc links for each group to work from initially. And then we'll create a sandbox for each biography and work in groups to outline the biography, so we can divide up, you can divide up your tasks as you like, but there's researching, there's searching for images, there's adding links, finding articles that are relevant that we might want to link to, because it's really important in Wikipedia to connect our article to other articles that exist in Wikipedia. We'll do a bit of peer review, read and edit other people's drafts, and then publish the biographies on Wikipedia by the end of the Edit-a-thon. That is the plan. So let me maybe I'll just go to our Google Doc and
Sarah, excuse me, Sarah, we do have a few people online.
Okay.
Do we want to, folks online, did you want to try to participate in this? And
they can totally participate.
Yeah.
We can, because everybody in our class has a laptop, so we can have some, like maybe one person responsible for the people online joining each group from a laptop, and then they can do some research and editing, and I think it'll, yeah.
Okay, great. Well, maybe what we'll do is pull up for the folks in the space here. Makai, if I could ask you to pull up the meeting ID of the Zoom, so that maybe one person per team can join the Zoom, and that way you can interact with the people that are online. So I'm looking at Ariana, Marie-Elise, and Samini, who are there in that space, if you wanted to participate. And otherwise, we will, I guess for the duration of this portion, kind of stop the...
Yeah, I just was trying to figure out how to put, I want to put the link in the chat window so everybody can, this is our current Google Doc that we're working from with a list of the 5 potential candidates for biographies that we're looking at. So there's some initial links. We have Rainbow Eyes, who is an activist with the Rainforest Flying Squad and the Fairy Creek blockades in BC. Rainbow Eyes is an Indigenous woman and from the traditional territory of Knight Inlet. We have Frida Hussein, who's has a Wikipedia page, one of the students found in Spanish, and is the chief of the Wet'suwet'en people in Canada. And she has been a leading advocate for Indigenous communities reconnecting with their land and reclaiming control. And so we have a few links for her already. Our own Eliane currently from Future Earth at Concordia and Sustainability in the Digital Age. She's a plant genomic scientist, and there's a few links on her as well, and notable women in sustainability and STEM. Sharon Venny, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, she's a lawyer and a member of the Cree Nation who has worked on the United Nations declarations on the rights of Indigenous people and the First Nations communities implementing their own legal system. So she's played an active role in the national and international struggles of many Indigenous people. And we have a few links for her as well. And Aka Niviana, who is an Inuk writer and climate activist from Greenland. And one of our students, Jasmine, has worked on her work during her master's thesis, so she'll have some suggestions for where to research. So I think what we should do is break into groups at this point. And Anna and the Fourth Space folks have set up some tables.
I'll just let people on Zoom know, please stick around and keep going. We are going to cut the live stream now for this group activity.